We are connected digitally, but a substantial relationship sometimes is not what's happening. So we're also really focused in on how are we building those human connections with students to help bridge that divide and keep them connected in a meaningful way, not just a digital way.
You're listening to the smartsocial.com podcast. This is our District Talk segment where we interview district leaders to learn how they're keeping students safe on social media. And we also ask them questions that we get from parents all over the country in our program. Now, let's get back to the interview.
Hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Marie Robinson. I'm the superintendent of the Bangor School Department here in Bangor, Maine. We span 10 buildings across our school department, and we educate approximately 3,400 students.
Superintendent, it's so great to have you here today. And to all of our audience and listeners and viewers across the country, we're honored that no matter whether you're a parent or a superintendent or anyone amazing in between who we absolutely love and adore, today's topic is about keeping kids safe on digital tools so they can someday shine online. And in the middle there, we're talking about keeping kids successful in the walls of their home and in the walls of the classroom so they're learning as much as possible. There will be no shame on this episode. It's all about practical and tactical tips we can use to keep those kiddos safe so parents get close to them so that they can shine online to the dream college, career, internship, everything that we want these digital tools to help them do. Hey, Superintendent, I got to be honest. I think we've had 40 states, some of your peers, 200 episodes, 40 states represented with their superintendents. You might be the 41st. I don't know if I've had your state on, so I'm really pumped about this. We'll have to run the numbers, but we'll have to see where that's at. So my first question for you, Superintendent, is after these 200 plus superintendent conversations, across hopefully 41 states, we've heard a consistent trend. Students we're hearing are growing up in a digital world filled with powerful tech, AI, and social media, but they lack the maturity sometimes and the guidance sometimes to use it safely. Now, the result can be more student absences, and maybe your community's perfect. Maybe you have little angels of children running around, but in some communities, there's more student absences, there's lower focus, sometimes there's rising cyberbullying. Sometimes there's a little bit of a decline in self-esteem. And there's also the AI misuse in the classroom that we're hearing about. Now, parents we're hearing are trying to raise good kids in a world they didn't grow up in, a world where tech is moving faster than safety policies. Teens know how to hide apps and online behavior, and safety lessons usually come after a crisis. Superintendent, this is where I want to get your feedback. Are there any other trends on this topic that you've seen so we can alert other school districts before they see them?
Thank you for that. Actually, I would really echo all of the trends that have been shared already. I think that's pretty all encompassing. What we're seeing and have an increased focus on is just what you talked about is how do we promote safety without removing access altogether? Because these are tools. These are tools that are part of our world. And it's important that children of all ages learn at a certain age. What is the responsible use? What does it look like to have a digital footprint? And what does that actually mean? So we have just recently embarked on kind of a revamp and a restructure of our cell phone policy and looking at how we are supporting that with digital literacy, ensuring that students understand some of the ramifications, while at the same time offering a scaffolded approach to support student engagement. And that's with containers during class time. Students will place their device there, and that's just starting at our high school. It's already been in place at our middle school. And what we are aiming for is to really heighten that engagement and then bridge that connection. Because what you spoke about, what has been shared by other superintendents, which we're all seeing, I think, is that lack of connection in some cases. We are connected digitally, but a substantial relationship sometimes is not what's happening. So we're also really focused in on how are we building those, human connections with students to help bridge that divide and keep them connected in a meaningful way, not just a digital way.
So this is exciting. So you're saying this is the first year in high school that you'll have these containers or a cell phone policy where the kids put it away. Is that right?
Yes, and this is through multiple surveys, including families, staff, and students. We had a committee really looked at how do we take a balanced approach. As I said, it works pretty well putting cell phones in their lockers at the middle level. In high school, it becomes more challenging. So we're looking to put some steps in place so that during the actual instructional time, phones are not accessible. And the idea behind that is to increase the engagement, the face-to-face communication, and hopefully have a positive result.
I love that. We'd love to have you back on the podcast after a semester because we're hearing in other districts from other superintendents. And we've had some principals on the podcast, and they say, Josh, the first week the kids hated it. And then the second week during lunchtime, the kids are talking to each other more. In the hallways, they're more friendly. In the classroom, the teachers feel supported because the kids are encouraged to, it's a district wide policy, put the phones away. And the teacher doesn't make the rules are the rules. And we're just hearing a really hard first week, hard second week. And then all of a sudden things change and the kids become more outgoing. So I'd love to hear your stories there as well. I think you're making the right move too. I think it's a really good direction. And kudos to you. It's not easy, right? Has it been difficult to try and
It
herd
has.
the community?
It has. It really has. The book that I know has been on everyone's reading list, The Anxious Generation,
Yeah.
kind of hit a level here, and
Yeah.
there were a number of groups, a number of constituents that looked for that full ban. And I think where we landed makes a lot of sense because once again, any type of prohibited activity oftentimes leads to, how do we navigate this? And then that becomes the focus. And we really wanted it to be an initiative that is not going to take the focus away from student learning because that's our goal here is to ensure students have opportunities for deep rich learning, and by the process we took I think worked really well. But again, we are going to monitor it, so we'll see if things need to be updated throughout the year at the semester break, but we'll be doing frequent check-ins to see how it's going.
What a great attitude towards that because nothing's perfect and everything's iterative. And even every app that comes out that addicts kids, gets them addicted, those are all iterative and we have to work. Everything is, we try and we test and improve. So I love that. And we wish you all the best in that. To all of our audience here today, you know that we're reaching millions of people all over the country, keeping kids safe. Parents ask us a lot of questions in these live events that we host in the evenings where people join in remotely, virtually online. One of the bigger questions we're getting recently is, hey, Josh, what advice would you give to a student to help them recognize some of the red flags of a dangerous stranger? Really good question. Somebody threw out in one of our chat boxes. Well, let's hear from a real teenager about how she might help a friend recognize these red flags. You're about to watch a video from our live online virtual events, our parent engagement events that we have all over the country weekly. And parents, if you bring your kids to it, this is the kind of thing you'll hear.
If I had a friend talking online to a stranger, I think that I would feel a little bit uncomfortable with the whole situation. I would advise against it because so many indirect issues can come from that, and it could cause something to be worse than if they had just unadded them in the first place. Some red flags that I would have to advise them to cut it off with this person or to stop engaging would be if the person starts to get very involved in their personal life and they seem to be very intrigued in what's going on with them and wanting to know all little details about what they do and who they are, and just very personal details and things that you wouldn't normally share with a stranger in real life. If they're very persistent and constantly wanting to talk to my friend or constantly trying to be involved in their life or wanting to speak to them, I feel like that's kind of a red flag. Another thing would be if they ask them to ever meet them anywhere in person right from the start, if they feel a sense of being uncomfortable or their intuition is just saying it's wrong, or if my intuition is saying something feels wrong with this, then I think that's a major red flag.
Now, parents, remember, if your district is a partner, we have these virtual online events that happen weekly. Gone are the days of one social media safety speaker coming to the community. Now we do it every week in 12 different languages. On the bottom left, you'll see there's weekly live parent events and replays. These aren't just for parents. A lot of parents will bring their kids, and we have the difficult talk about screen time with the teens, and real teen video lessons are in the program. A lot of teens give us the biggest compliment. They say, "That didn't suck, Mom." They actually kind of enjoy it, and that's like a teenager way of saying it was okay. And a lot of parents say, hey, I'm glad when I brought my teen because you had the difficult conversation about Snapchat, Instagram, TikTok, and so on with them. And then we have a premium parent newsletter. Parents, if you come out, here's what's going right in New York. Now we've done this. We've been on the news 34 times or more. Here's one of the positive news clips in a community. You are the one that needs to decide whether it's too much screen time or just right.
But parents and teachers know when it comes to teenagers and social media, that's easier said than done. So in an effort to protect students from the dangers of being chronically online, schools are doing something you might not expect, asking parents to get online too.
It makes an awareness to parents and students. It also gives them an understanding of some of the warning signs.
That's just one reason why Deron Wilson, an executive director of school engagement, says his district uses the app Smart Social. It's an online app designed to educate parents and students on how to avoid strangers and dangerous situations online.
Kind of like, I want to say, a trap. When you get involved in the cyberbullying, like you might start friending somebody on an app, or somebody might say, hey, they might send me your picture.
Smart Social founder Josh Oakes says while there are a lot of things that can and should scare us online, the increased number of parents he is able to reach underscores the importance of growing social gathering spaces online.
Back in the day, I used to be one of the top social media safety speakers nationwide, but I was flying around to certain school districts, and they're the best of intentions, but only 20 or 30 parents would show up. We get 10 times the amount of parents to show up, and they want to learn from the convenience of their home or office how to keep their kids safe on social media. They want to ask live questions. They want to learn how to have dialogue starters with their kids that actually get their kids excited about talking with their parents and strengthening that relationship.
Darcy Wertique, Spectrum News.
All right, parents. So remember, if your school district is a partner, here's our lineup for back to school. July is back to school screen safety. A lot like the Anxious Generation, we have a bunch of streaming sessions, a lot of great stuff. August is all about AI for student success, being productive, learning future skills. And the really formal title is Improving Learning and Reducing Cheating. This is taught by some 8th grade English teachers. We've gotten buy-in from every level of districts and parents. You're going to love this because it's going to give your teens the tools they need to not only use AI to learn and tutor them, but let's keep them away from cheating. And we define cheating in here and how it works. The next thing is September is Sneaky Ways Video Apps Keeps Teens Watching. October is Combating Online Bullying. I think we might have one of the biggest anti-bullying programs in the world. And then November is Disappearing Messages, the hidden dangers parents need to know. And December, before you give your kids for the holidays a new phone, there's Optimizing Parental Controls, Balancing Safety, and so on. Parents, if you miss any of these, yes, there'll be about 25 over the next 6 months. If you miss them, you can watch them in 12 different languages. It's phenomenal what our team does. You can watch the replays and you can just join them. We got a lot of great summer streaming sessions. So parents, don't miss out. Also, one last thing, when you do join one of these events, you are automatically entered for a chance to win, if your district is a partner, a Kindle. We give away a Kindle each week, Bluetooth speakers, 3D printers, and so on. Stuff to promote positive screen time at home, good ways to use tech. Okay, we're back over to our program. Superintendent, in addition, those 200 conversations I've had with your peers in about 40 states, in addition to what we already talked about safety, we've also heard from communities an interesting topic. We're hearing that many parents are feeling overwhelmed trying to keep up with fast-moving online trends and digital safety risks. And also, we're hearing that students are sometimes finding ways to increase their screen time and bend the rules, especially when expectations at school differ significantly from those at home. Superintendent, what trends or pain points are you seeing when it comes to parent engagement? And where do you feel families are struggling the most to stay informed or connected?
I really think that parent engagement is a challenge across the board. I just started at this district last July, and it was similar in both of my previous districts, both in the state of Maine and in the state of Pennsylvania, where I was before. Families are very busy these days. We have so many factors. There's been so many changes to the family unit, the economy, many contributors to the fact that some families are working 2 jobs. Some families, are just not available and really not in a place to extend their time and energy into the school system. So we're really looking at, in our district, cultivating a sense of belonging. And by doing that, really extending our reach to support families the best that we can and really trying to meet them where they are. We have some updated communication protocols. We've started a little bit of increased communication this past year, and we're adding to it. The plan is for the fall. And then additionally, really thinking about how do we infuse some opportunities for parent engagement tied with events that are already occurring that families are coming to. Instead of having events 2 or 3 times a week, we're looking at an analysis of what are the events that draws the most people and how do we, perhaps it's a musical concert, which I've witnessed very well attended. And of course, families want to make time for that. How do we insert maybe a little blurb around digital safety or a parenting tip, maybe at an intermission, so that we have the group already there? We're not asking them for more. A couple of other opportunities that have worked really well is to offer that dinner. I mean, I myself was a single parent for a number of years. And if anyone asked me after a full day of work to take my 3 children back to the school, I would have said the same thing, like, well, what about dinner? So I think if the dinner is offered, I think that is another way to support families with the challenges they face.
I love that. Superintendent, kudos. Being a single parent is tough, and we love that you did that. And also, one of the things you just said that's incredible is we're hearing this trend from superintendents across the country. They say, Josh, we get the most turnout from combined events. And that's kind of what you're saying.
Mhm.
I heard from an episode last week was, Josh, the ones where we highlight the students and celebrate the kids gets the most parents to come out. So it could be a recital, it could be band practice. I don't care what it is. It doesn't matter. Be a band playing or whatever that is. Parents want to come out to see their kids being celebrated, performing, and so on. And then I call it the bait and switch. Hey, the kids are in the back. We're so excited to have you here. They're so excited to see you. We're going to watch a 1-minute video on TikTok safety. And this is what your kids want you to watch. And we're going to show you a couple tips you maybe didn't know. There's a flyer on your seat when you came in. Those are key takeaways, and also some dialogue starters around the dinner table if you want to try to keep your kids safe or hand it to a neighbor. Those combined events, I call it the bait and switch. You're here for something, but we're going to give you what you need. That's what you want. The kids behind the scenes. Really, really exciting. What's your favorite combined event? What are you getting parents out for? And then, by the way, the pizzas, or I call it pizza party, but the dinner is a great idea. What's your favorite thing you think people are going to come out for that other superintendents could layer on these important things in?
Well, I think it's always great to bring families in for a celebration of learning, to play some games, some learning games that are really connected to our academics. We have what's called peak nights, which are opportunities for families to engage in a variety of different activities. So I would say that combining anything, again, echoing what you shared, that highlights student learning, celebrates student achievement, highlights the skills and talents that our amazing students bring, is going to be the opportunity to pair with maybe something like digital safety as a webinar is not going to draw people just with that title alone. But if
Yeah.
it's paired, I think people appreciate that because we're being mindful and respectful of their time and not saying, no, we don't think that you have anything else to do this week and you can spend 2 or 3 nights at the school, because it's just not realistic. And I want to make sure that we are supporting our families and recognizing the challenges that they face as well.
Yeah, so true. And it is really hard to sell a parent on keep your kids safe. Well, they're like, I already am. But if you incentivize them, put all these layers on, we've seen 10 times the growth, 10 times the parent engagement when there's, hey, win a Kindle and keep your kids safe. And they're like, ooh, I like both of these. Both of these are important. Or win a Bluetooth speaker. And, I love where you're going with that. What's one of your biggest parent tips you'd have for parents in your community or communities nationwide as our listeners have kids K-12 when it comes to managing that screen time, especially over the summer or back to school when there's a hard transition? What are some of your tips you'd tell parents?
I think the biggest piece, and I have between children and stepchildren, have 7 of my own. So I've been through it. The youngest is 17. So
Wow.
I've been through it. And I think the key is not so much about what they shouldn't be doing with the screen time and what limits are put into place, but really brainstorming with your child, thinking together as a family. What are the activities we will be doing? And I really like that approach better.
Mm.
Our family, for example, loves the outdoors. So it would be camping very strategically in a place where there is no cell phone access. So, it doesn't become a face-to-face debate. It doesn't become an argument. It's more of, here's something that we're doing. Oh, you won't be able to use your cell phone, but that's okay because we're together as a family and we're having a great time.
We're doing campfires and you can smell the pine cones.
That's
And
right.
yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, incredible. To all of our listeners, we want to remind you that the number one safety app in the world is a rich dialogue between you and your kids. As the superintendent said, going camping is going to get you closer to your kiddos, and you're focusing on what you are doing instead of let's turn off that device and not replace it with something interesting. Remember that it's not Google's job or Microsoft's job to save you. They're probably good companies. We're not paid by them, but the only thing that's going to help your kid is a trusted advisor, a trusted adult, and that's you, parents, grandparents, and having that kid understand that you're willing to listen with no judgment to something that went wrong or right. And that means being interested in your kids' Fortnite games or Minecraft or TikTok or whatever they're doing, eyes on their screen, teach me this, please. And even if they think you're uncool, they'll be more inclined to come to you if they see something wrong. Hey, Superintendent, thank you so much for your time today. Thanks for coming out.
Absolutely. It's been my pleasure. Thank you, Josh.
Thanks. And to all you parents out there, we love you and support you here at Smart Social. Keep your kids safe, But also, let's not turn off all the devices. It's like a car. We drive it safely because we got to get from point A to point B. And the point B is shining online to build a positive portfolio to someday get that dream job, career, internship, everything else. Let's get your kid resilient so that when they're 25, they're awesome to hang out with and they're well adapted to the real world. And parents, one last thing that we want to leave you with. Whenever you're posting, remember to keep it light, bright, and polite because our kids are watching what we're modeling online. I'm Josh Oakes, the host of the SmartSocial.com podcast. We'll see all of you on the next episode. Have a great rest of the day. Thanks for listening to the SmartSocial.com podcast. Smart Social helps parents understand technology and social media to keep their kids safe and successful. Be sure to join one of our weekly online live events to become the smartest parent on the block so you can keep your kids safe and protect their future. Also, don't miss our 450 plus online resources and replays you can watch on demand in multiple languages. Are you a school district wanting to unlock these resources for your parents? Reach out to us so we can protect your whole community each week. Have a great rest of the day, and we'll see you on the next episode.